The rain in Seattle never really stops. It just changes its mind about how hard it wants to fall. That November night it was coming down in needles, the kind that stings your face and makes the runway lights at SeaTac blur like wet paint. I stood under the departures overhang in my camel trench coat, watching my husband Malcolm kiss our 7-year-old son Jalen on the forehead one last time before he disappeared through the sliding doors. Another critical leadership summit in Austin. Another 4 days of peace. Or so I thought. Malcolm looked perfect as always. Charcoal Tom Ford suit, Apple Watch glinting under the floodlights, that easy smile the whole world believed. Senior program manager at one of the big tech campuses in Redmond. The man who made it. The man who told me I didn't need to work because he could take care of us. The man I still loved even when something cold had started growing behind his eyes. Jalen's little hand was freezing inside mine. He had been quiet the whole drive from Beacon Hill, which wasn't like him. My son talks in paragraphs when he's excited, but tonight he hadn't said a word since we left the house. "Come on, baby," I said, tugging gently. "Let's get you home and into pajamas." He didn't move. His Spider-Man light-up shoes stayed planted on the wet concrete. "Mommy." His voice was so small the rain almost swallowed it. "We can't go back to the house tonight." I laughed at first, because what else do you do when your 7-year-old sounds like he's narrating a horror movie? "Sweetie, it's late. You're tired." He squeezed my hand until it hurt. "Please, Mommy. I heard Daddy on the phone this morning. He said tonight the house has to burn. He said he'll be far away when it looks like an accident." The laugh died in my throat. I crouched down, rain dripping off my braids onto his cheeks. "Jalen, baby, you probably heard wrong." I didn't. His eyes were huge, shining with tears and airport lights. "He said the boy has to go too." "That's me, Mommy. He said I have to go too." Everything slowed down. The cars crawling past. The loudspeaker calling final boarding. The rain. All of it slowed until I could hear my own heartbeat. I should have told him he was being silly. I should have driven us straight back to our smart house with the Nest thermostats and the Ring cameras and the Marble Island Malcolm insisted we needed. Instead I heard myself say, "Okay, baby. I believe you." Relief crashed over his face so hard he started shaking. I picked him up, he was getting heavy, all legs, and carried him back to the car. I had just parked 20 minutes earlier. We didn't go home. I drove north first, then looped south on I-5, hands trembling on the steering wheel. Jalen fell asleep against the window, his breath fogging the glass. I ended up in the long-term parking garage at SeaTac again, pulled into the darkest corner on level 6, and just sat there watching the rain slide down the windshield. At 11:47 p.m. my phone buzzed. "Malcolm, landed safe. Love you both. Sleep tight red heart hash." I stared at those words until they blurred. Then I opened the Find My and watched the little dot that was Malcolm's phone blink all the way to downtown Austin. I didn't sleep. Around 3 a.m. I Googled what to do if you think your husband wants to kill you. The results made me want to throw up. At 4:12 a.m. I remembered the business card my daddy gave me the week before he died of pancreatic cancer. Thick cream stock, simple black letters. Camille Cam Du Bois. Private investigator and security consultant. If you ever need to disappear, call me. Day or night. Daddy. I had laughed when he gave it to me. Malcolm was sitting right there in the hospital room, holding my hand, telling Daddy not to worry, he would always take care of me. Daddy just looked at him over the oxygen mask and said nothing. I dialed the number with shaking fingers. A raspy voice answered on the second ring. "Who this?" "Miss Du Bois. My name is Amora Coleman. My daddy was." Detective Marcus Coleman, 31st Precinct retired. "I know exactly who you are, baby. Where you at?" I told her. She told me to stay put, engine running, doors locked. 43 minutes later a black Suburban with tinted windows pulled up beside me. A tall, silver-haired woman in a leather jacket and Tim's got out, looked around once, then tapped my window. I rolled it down an inch. "You Amora?" I nodded. "Pop the trunk." I did. She put 2 duffels in, got in the passenger seat, and said, "Drive. I'll tell you where." That was how I met Camille Dubois, Cam, 61 years old, former Army intelligence, former SPD homicide, now the most feared and respected fixer for abused women in the Pacific Northwest. We didn't ask a lot of questions that night. She just handed Jalen a blanket and a juice box and told me to take the next exit toward Tacoma. We ended up in a brick townhouse off South Yakima Avenue that didn't exist on any map app. Inside it looked like a normal grandma house. Plastic on the couches, Jesus on the wall, smell of coffee and cocoa butter. But the doors had steel cores and there were more guns than throw pillows. Jalen finally crashed on a daybed. Cam poured me coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Talk. So I talked. Everything Jalen heard. The way Malcolm had been moving money around for 18 months. The new $3 million term life policies he took out on me and Jalen last year for the boys' college. The way he kept asking me to add his name to the house title for tax purposes. The smart home app updates he did himself. The sudden interest in space heaters even though we had radiant floors. When I finished, Cam lit a Newport, took a long drag, and said, "Your daddy was right about that man. Always was. We gonna handle this, but we doing it smart. He think you'll dead in about 5 hours. We can let him keep thinking that for a minute." At 5:07 a.m. the news alert started. Breaking. Massive house fire in Beacon Hill. 2 believed trapped inside. Cam turned on the living room TV. There was our house, or what was left of it, fully engulfed. Flames shooting 30 feet in the air. Firefighters retreating because the heat was too intense. A reporter talking about a possible gas leak from the high-efficiency furnace. And there was Malcolm, flying back early, rushing to the scene in the same suit he'd worn yesterday, face crumpled in perfect devastation. My wife, my little boy, he collapsed against a fire captain, shoulders shaking. The Chiron read, "Tech XX family feared dead in tragic blaze." Cam muted the TV. Boy can act, I'll give him that. Jalen woke up and saw his father crying on television. He didn't cry. He just stared, then looked at me and whispered, "He's not sad, Mommy. He's checking if it worked." Cam made us stay inside for 3 days. No phones, no cards, cash only. She had a tech guy wipe every digital trace of us. On day 4 she handed me a new driver's license, same picture, different name. Amora Jackson, organ donor, lives in Kent. "We letting him sweat," she said. "Men like him get sloppy when they think they won." Malcolm played the grieving husband perfectly. GoFundMe for funeral expenses, already at $87,000. Interviews on every local news. Candlelight vigil he organized himself. Crying in front of Jalen's empty classroom. Posting throwback photos with captions like, "I can't believe you're gone." Every night I watched him lie and felt something inside me harden into steel. On day 10 Cam said it was time. Malcolm had gone back to work, couldn't look too broken, after all. He was staying at the Four Seasons downtown, billing it to the company as bereavement relocation. Cam's people put a tracker on his Tesla. We knew his every move. That night we broke into our own burnt-out house. The smell hit me first. Wet charcoal and death. The roof was gone. The second floor had collapsed into the first. But Malcolm's office, because it was in the back corner with the fire-resistant door he bragged about, was mostly intact. Cam boosted me through a broken window. Jalen refused to stay in the car. "I know where Daddy hides the bad stuff," he said. My son led me through the blackened skeleton of our life straight to the office. The painting behind the desk was ash, but the wall safe was still there. Combination was our wedding date, the 14th of August, 16. Inside, 2 burner phones, a flash drive, a ledger, and a Glock I didn't know he owned. Jalen tugged my sleeve. Under the big drawer. I pulled the bottom drawer all the way out. Taped underneath was a second flash drive and a yellow legal pad covered in Malcolm's handwriting. Debts. $1.2 million options trading loss. Need exit plan. Insurance $3 million plus $1 million on boy. Fire best. Untraceable if done right. Contact D. Half up front. My legs gave out. I sat in the ashes of my marriage and read how much my life was worth. Then the boy too. Can't leave loose ends. Jalen didn't cry. He just took the legal pad, folded it neatly, and put it in the backpack Cam gave us. We were almost out when headlights swept the ruins. 2 men in Tyvek suits picking through debris. One kicked something and cursed. Boss said make sure no bodies. Ain't finding shit. Gas did the job. Nothing left but dental records, and good luck with that. Cam's voice crackled in my earpiece. Time to go, baby. We ran. Back at the safe house, Cam plugged in the flash drives. Messages. Bank records. Photos of deposits to an account in the Caimans. Audio files, Malcolm's voice, calm and cold. I need it done this weekend. I'll be in Austin. Make sure the kid doesn't wake up. I threw up in Cam's kitchen sink. The ledger was worse. Every debt wasn't just trading losses. He'd been running a quiet fraud, fake diversity grants, skimming from the Black Employee Resource Group budget he chaired. When the auditors got close, he needed us gone so he could cash the policies and disappear. Cam made one phone call. 2 days later I sat on a bench by the Seattle Aquarium, wearing a wig, glasses, and grief thick enough to touch. Malcolm thought he was meeting a lawyer about the estate. Instead he got me. He saw me and froze. For 3 full seconds the mask slipped and I saw pure panic. Amora. I didn't stand up. Sit down, Malcolm. He looked around, habit, then Saturday baby, thank God. Where's Jalen? The police said. Stop. My voice was ice. I know everything. He tried the tears again. I can explain. You took out $3 million on me and $1 million on your own son. You hired men to burn us alive while you built an alibi in Austin. You documented it. You kept receipts. You're done. His face changed. The grieving husband disappeared. The real Malcolm leaned in, voice low. You think you're smart. You think you can take that to the police and live. Those men work for people who don't lose. Give me the drives and I'll call them off. I smiled. Already did. He blinked. Detective Hightower, SPD Major Crimes. She's been watching you for 6 weeks, ever since my daddy told her to. You know, the one you smiled in the face of while he was dying. Malcolm stood so fast the bench tipped. You bitch. Plainclothes officers appeared from nowhere. Tourists dropped their phones. Joggers pulled badges. Malcolm Coleman, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, arson, insurance fraud. He ran. He made it 10 feet before a taser dropped him twitching in the wet grass. Jalen watched from the aquarium window above, safe behind one-way glass, eating dip pints like it was Saturday cartoon morning. The trial was quick. They found accelerant in the smart home vents. The gas leak story fell apart in 48 hours. Malcolm took a plea, 2 counts attempted murder, 1 arson. 40 years, no parole for 25. I didn't go to sentencing. I was busy passing the bar exam. 5 years later. The rain is soft today, more mist than drops. Jalen, he goes by Jay now, almost 12 and taller than me, runs past in cleats, late for soccer practice. Our new house is small, in Rainier Beach, paid for with the insurance money meant to bury us. Every window faces south so we can see the mountains when the clouds part. I'm Amora Jackson, Esquire now. I run a non-profit law clinic for survivors of domestic violence. Daddy's insurance paid for law school. Malcolm's policies paid for everything else. Cam still checks on us. She taught Jay how to pick locks for emergencies only. He taught her how to code. They argue about Marvel versus DC every Thanksgiving. Sometimes I still wake up smelling smoke. Sometimes Jay sleeps with the light on. But most nights we sleep. This morning he asked if he can try out for travel team. I said yes. Last week a new client sat across my desk, pretty, terrified, thinks her tech millionaire husband is poisoning her smoothies. I gave her Cam's card. The circle stays unbroken. I close my laptop, step onto the porch, and watch the mist turn gold in the late sun. Jay scores a goal down the street. I hear his teammates cheer. We didn't just survive. We won.